So, good morning. Good morning, you guys. Good morning. Today we're going to tell a story about my singing school and how it was formed. And it was a miracle of sorts. It was a miracle of sorts. Good morning, Jay. Thank you. Thank you for being here, you guys. So, here's what happened. I had a production company, and that was my very first company. And my company was called Imua Productions. For those of you who are not in Hawaii, most of my audience is outside of Hawaii. Imua means forward or to move forward. It was also the battle cry of King Kamehameha, who united the Hawaiian Islands. His battle cry was Imua, to go forward. So anyway, I named my company Imua Productions, and it was my production company. Now I had been trained. I went to trade school, to broadcasting school, and so I did voiceovers. Uh, my friend and I also produced jingles. We did everything in music. We were recording people. We were doing recording projects, and this was all part of Imua Productions. So here's how the singing school happened. So I had this idea that I had to start something. I had to do something because my friend who was blind and who lived with me and my fiance, he was blind at the time. And he has passed away. He's since passed away. But he was blind, and I had to find something for him to do. And I thought, well, if I built a recording studio in my house, we could do the production company. So we did that. And Imua Productions was in full swing. Now, I did not know that I would end up building a singing school. I had no idea. Okay. But as it turns out, I was meant to teach. So, and this is way back in 1989. So back in '89, right? We're thinking about all these things, and we're very happy. Hi, Avalanche. Good morning. Thanks for joining us again. Thank you for being here. And so I had no idea that I was going to end up teaching. Now, I'm the product of two teachers. So both of my parents are teachers. And so that's probably where the genetics came from, to teach. But anyway, so I had no idea. So we were happy doing the production company. Everything was going good. We were making money. We were doing jingles. We were doing all these side jobs and everything. And I had a regular full-time job to go to. So here's how the singing company happened. One day, I met this girl, and I met actually, I met her advisor first. This lady was an advisor to a Filipino group. It was a Filipino organization, and what they did was they recorded Ilocano and Tagalog songs. And at the time, I was in the Filipino community working at a radio station full time. And so she told me the story about this group. Okay, now we're talking about generosity, kindness, compassion, love, and gratitude. Okay, just so we get the proper context. And this is how it happened. When I heard her story, I was very touched because this lady was living her dream through these students of hers. And what they did was they formed this club. I can't tell you the name of the club for legal reasons, but it was this club. And what they would do is this lady would write songs in Ilocano, in a Filipino dialect, and they would also record songs in Tagalog, the Philippine national language. And she told me this story about how she wrote all of these love songs when she was young and when she was in love and, all these things. And it really touched my heart. It touched my heart so much that I said, well, okay, I'll help you. So what I did was I started playing their music on the Filipino radio station to help them. And they did concerts, and they used to do these fundraiser concerts. Now, the money that they got from these concerts, they would put back into the recording studio and record more songs. Meanwhile, this lady would write more songs for the children to sing, and these were kids. Okay, so these kids, some of them were they were like 19 and then younger, and most of them were in high school. And I thought, wow, what a great cultural project, right? So with the production company, I started helping them, and I started, doing whatever I could to publicize their group, their club. It was a club, and anyway, So, make a long story short, there was this one girl that was exceptionally talented. And just so happens, okay, right? I don't know about coincidence, but just so happens, I happened to rent a room from her auntie. This was after I knew her for a while, but before that, I knew her auntie from the radio station. She was a disc jockey. She was a radio personality. So she said, "Well, you really need to meet my niece. Like she sings with that club." And I'm like, "Really? Who's your niece?" And she told me. And so I started paying attention to her niece and how she was singing. And I go, "Wow, you know, this girl is really good." So I decided to help. Okay, generosity. And I told this lady, I said, "I'll be happy to train your niece." And I I had had classical music training. I had a classical music background. I studied classical music for a while with one of the top trainers in Honolulu. And back in the day, you could not get a trainer, a voice teacher, unless you were in the music industry, number one. And then secondly, you'd have to like see if they have room. So it was kind of hard to get in. So this girl, right? I told her, I said, "You know what? I don't really teach voice right now. Like I've been through the training and I know all this stuff, but I tell you what, like I'm gonna help you, and I'm gonna help you max out your voice and everything, right? And I'm gonna help you get to the top." And she said, "Okay." So I drove to her house for free once a week from this place called Mililani. It's kind of far away to this place called Kalihi on the island of Oahu in Hawaii, where I am right now. And so I donated my time for months and months and months. I forget how many months, but I think it was about 8 or 9 months. And I drove all that way once a week just to teach this girl. Okay. And this was like on my own time, and I didn't charge anything. So generosity, kindness, right? The compassion part was that I really felt for this girl because she had so much talent. She just had to express it. She just had to get it out. And I knew exactly how to train her. So I started training her. I donated my time. Now, long story short, okay, she got really good. She was actually, till today, she was the best 16-year-old that I've ever seen. And I'm not saying that to flex or anything like that. It was her. It was who she was. It was her talent. And she was awesome. So, anyway, and her picture is on Voicemaster Vocal Development. If you go on the Facebook page, her picture is there. And it says that she was my very first student. Now, here's how God works. Okay, people always ask me, like, is God real? I'm like, yeah, God is very real. And this is how the school was created. So I teach her, she becomes outstanding. Okay, now my production company recorded songs for the organization, and they're still out there. And so she started recording, and it was the most awesome like recording that I had ever heard a 16-year-old do. So they start selling their tapes and their CDs and stuff, and they make a concert. They acknowledged me in the concert as her teacher. And a funny thing happened. Everybody started approaching me. "Can you teach my daughter? Can you teach my son? Can you teach, So everybody started coming, and I did not plan on teaching at all. And I'm like, "Well, okay," because they saw what I did with this girl. And so I couldn't turn it down because I was like, "Well, yeah, okay, sure." And so I started teaching in the Filipino community. Now, Filipino people, I will tell you, have a very rich culture in Hawaii. And they are very much into talent. They are very much into music. They have a high regard for creativity. I've some of the best musicians I've ever seen in my life, including my best friend who passed away, was Filipino. And it's not a racial comment or anything. Don't take it like that. Okay, but I'm just telling you that my experience in the Filipino community in Hawaii was like that. And in fact, I still have a few people on my Facebook from those days, from that era, and they're still on my Facebook today, and they're lifetime friends. So anyway, I started teaching more and more people. Okay, so pretty soon there was a whole bunch of people, and pretty soon I had to make this a formality. I had to make this something because there was just too many people. So I taught on the weekends for years and years. Okay, because of that. This started in 1989, and then I built a recording studio in my home in 1990, and we started teaching out of the house. We started teaching out of the home. I resigned from a certain radio station that I was at the time, and I decided to teach full time. And so we started teaching full time. Now, when we put the first ad in the radio, in the yellow pages, when we put the first ad there, we were the first singing school in Hawaii, Voicemaster Singing School. You can look it up. It's there. It's a thing. So what happened was the people who sold the ad to us, okay, the salespeople for the yellow pages, they started going around to all the music people and going, hey, you know what? This guy over here is teaching voice. You guys should teach voice too. Okay. So here's the funny part, right? For 1 year, we were the only singing school in Hawaii for 1 year. The second year, there was like 11 or 12 people that were teaching voice, right? Now, keep in mind, the two voice teachers that were servicing the music community, the entertainers, okay, they weren't advertising and they weren't in the phone book. You had to know industry people to know them. So we became the first formal singing school, the first commercial singing school in Hawaii, Voicemaster Singing School, which is now Voicemaster Vocal Development. Now, when my friend died, my friend used to teach with me, my best friend, and he died in 2015. He was blind, he was a musical genius, and he started the school with me. Now, when he passed away, I kind of looked at, like, okay, what are we going to do now? And the message, the intuitive message that I got was, okay, well, now we're going to service people online. We're going to service influencers. We're going to service people who use their voice for presentations, for webinars, things like that. So I renamed it Voicemaster Vocal Development. And that's how Voicemaster Vocal Development started. But the point here is that, I had no idea how. I had no idea I was going to build a school. I had no idea I was going to teach this girl. But I did it for free. I did it out of generosity, kindness, compassion, love. And then, of course, I was very grateful that other people were bringing their children to me. So I worked in the Filipino community. All of the people that I knew were Filipino. And now all of these Filipino people were coming to me. Can you teach my niece? Can you teach my nephew? Oh, I have, this one family had 6. They were all cousins. And there was a brother and a sister, and the rest were all cousins. And I used to sit upstairs at their house and teach on a Sunday for 6 hours. And I used to teach all of them, right? And, in those days, I had a mobile service. I had a $400 Toyota, and I used to drive to their house. And it was like 6 hours, and I'd go home with a pocket full of cash. Okay, now that's how the school started. It started as a mobile service, and then we, built that recording studio. Then we had a formal location after that, and we stayed at the formal location for 24 years. It's a place called Dillingham Boulevard in Kalihi, a place on the island of Oahu in Hawaii. But that's how it started, and word got around. And when word got around, like, everybody started coming. Pretty soon I had to go from house to house to house, and I was making house calls. Okay, and this is years and years. This is in 1989. So here's what I think happened. Right, I donated my time, and in return, I was compensated. So there's no such thing as giving and not receiving. And there's no such thing as receiving without giving. Okay? So the universal law of compensation tells us this. Okay? There are many universal laws that apply to this. Okay? But the fundamental thing is, I didn't even know I was going to have a school. The school became our second company. And this happened again with another company of mine that I did not plan on. Okay, so years later, if you jump way ahead, in 1999, in 1999 I was on the radio, and that's too long a story to tell, but things started going good. I became very popular in Hawaii. I was on the second largest radio show in Hawaii, and it was a blessing to be able to do that. And all of a sudden, I played guitar on the radio, and we did this as a joke for a week. And by the third day, I had this feeling like, dude, you better sing for your life. You know, this is your chance. This is your shot. Okay. Now, that 1 week turned into 15 years. But what happened during that week was kind of like what happened, with this thing, right? With the generosity thing, with the school. Because the school was born out of generosity. Well, in 1999, I sang for 1 week on the radio, right? On the third day, I started singing for my life because I saw the doors start to open. I saw this thing become more real and more real. And people were calling on the phone to the radio station saying, can you play for my baby party? Can you play for my son's birthday party? Can you do our wedding? Can you sing for our wedding? I mean, all of this stuff started happening. It's the same way. But I wasn't being paid to go on the radio that week. I was invited, and the theme was, hey, let's have fun. And I said, well, can I bring my guitar? And he said, yeah. So I volunteered to help for that week. Okay, I didn't ask for like, oh, can you give me money for that or whatever. I didn't do that, of course not. So my point is, right, I gave up my time, I gave up my talent, whatever talent I had, whatever it is. And so, but I gave it my all. And through that giving, I started receiving. Now, people were asking me, can you sing in my baby party? Can you sing in my, in my wedding and stuff like that? I had no idea what to charge. And so I said, yeah, how much do you charge? And I was like, I don't know, a couple $100. It started there, right? But it ended up at $1,999. It kept going, right? And yeah, so anyway, but my point is that business started as an accident. It just like a miracle, it just appeared, because now I had jobs coming in that I had to fill, and the answer was always yes. The answer was always like, yeah, do you want to play for my wedding? Well, sure, yeah, okay, and we kind of learned as we went, and we built the company as we went. It's online. It's called the Kekuewa Jr. Roadshow. It's on Facebook. We retired in 2019, but you can go look at it, and all of our parties were there, or are there actually on the Facebook page. And so anyway, and nobody knew what a road show was. And in our mind, it was the show that we took on the road. So we had a show. We had hula dancers. We had keiki hula dancers. For you people outside of Hawaii, that's children. We had children hula dancers. So we had hip hop dancers. Like, we gave all the children a shot. We gave them a chance, because I never had the chance when I was young. So we turned around and we corrected that, right? We don't want to pass that down. So we opened the door to everybody. I remember being on the radio, and the guy that I was on the radio with, he said, hey, what are you doing involving all these people? Like, it's about you. It's about, you. And I said, no, you have to open the door for everybody. You have to allow these people in, let them have a chance. I never had a chance, right? So I started opening the doors for people. Guess what happened? It became a formal business. And the Junior Kekuewa Jr. Roadshow became a wedding and party business. And slowly it took form. Slowly it took shape. Pretty soon we had a template for weddings. We had a template for parties. We were doing 5 shows a week. So we did a show on Friday nights. And so Friday night, was like, I don't know, 5 to 9:30. And then we had a Sunday 10 to 2 show, and then a 5:30 to 9:30 show. So we were doing like 5 shows a week. And we performed. We did the math after 15 years, and we performed for over 300,000 people. So God gave me my dream, but he gave it to me a different way. You see, there were other people that we saw in the entertainment industry that actually, became big stars and whatever. And most of those people went through rehab. Most of those people, like, it just, uh, they didn't really make money because the money went back to the people who put up the money. I mean, that's the way it works. They made some money. They made some average money, like an average job that you would, get paid for, and they were happy, you know. But God spared me from that. God said, no, no, because I wanted to. We were approaching the record companies for years, trying to get a deal, right? And God said, no, 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 you go over here, you go over here. Here's your performance over here. You perform here. And so we did events, wedding and party business. People in Hawaii thought I was part of the entertainment world, and I really wasn't. I had my own company, so I didn't have to play by the rules of the people that ran the entertainment industry, which is why a lot of doors started to close, when I pursued that. Because God was going, no, 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 you go over here where it's safe. And God put me in that place. So, what I'm trying to tell you, what I'm trying to convey in today's life is when you use generosity, kindness, compassion, love, and gratitude, and you're grateful. I mean, I thank God when these parties started coming in, the money started coming in, and I was like, thank you, thank you, thank you, Father God. Thank you, Father God, for this opportunity. And I got to perform for thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. And people thought that I was part of the entertainment industry, but I was protected. I was protected, and God gave me a business. And it was an accidental business. It wasn't on purpose. God said, here you go. Here's your wedding and party business. You wanted to perform? There you go. And we did that for years. And I included my students. So here's how the companies synergistically worked together. We would train the kids at Voicemaster Singing School at the time. It was called Voicemaster Singing School. And we would train the kids, and I created a cocktail hour. I said, you know what? I'm going to have a cocktail hour when people are walking in and stuff, like you guys can play. And it was no problem because I made sure the kids were good enough by the time we gave them the hour, right? And made sure they were good enough. So there was no complaints. Everybody saw that I included children, and they was like, wow, that's a pretty cool thing. You let the kids play. You let the kids perform. And they loved the kids. And the kids were just like overjoyed that they could perform for people, right? So now you have happiness. Now you have that generosity and kindness on our part, but on their part, you have happiness. And they were happy. And guess what happened? They grew as human beings. So I always say that, I've never discovered anyone. What I do is different. I give people a stage and I allow them to discover themselves. That's what happened. So this, this thing about being kind and about giving and about being generous and about being compassionate and understanding goes a long, long way. Okay, now, of course, hey, Costas, when you care about others, it is very important. Yes, it is. It's very important. And I think the reason why, Costas, thank you for that comment. I think the reason why is when I was young, I was looking for a break. And I think when I was young, I was looking for, a way up the ladder, so to speak, and it wasn't there. It wasn't there. And I was offered one small contract once, and my uncle, my first mentor, he sat me down at the swimming pool and in his building, and he said, look, you can do this one of two ways. He goes, you can sign with them and you can be part of their system, or you can do it yourself. You can work hard your whole life. You can open the doors on your own, and you can eventually do everything you've dreamed about. And at the time, I was 18 years old when my uncle told me this. And when I was 18, I was offered this contract. It was a small contract. It was for a 45. The records were about that big. and But these people were connected to the entertainment industry kind of thing, right? They ran things. They were big dogs. And when my uncle told me that, like I felt empty. I felt like, oh man, like I gotta do it myself? Like how is that gonna happen? But here's the caveat. The how is always God's job. The how is God's job. I didn't know how, but I went out on the road of life with that same passion in my heart, with that same desire in my heart. I wanted to perform. I wanted to play music. I wanted to make people laugh. I wanted to entertain people. And slowly, things happened. And it took a long time for the doors to open. They opened in 1999. I started out in radio in 1979. It took 20 years for the doors to open. And I got so discouraged during those years because I was working for $5 an hour. Can you imagine? $5 an hour doing small little radio stations, you know. And I wasn't a part of the gang. I wasn't a part of the clique. So I always got weekend shows or overnight shows. They would just stick me here or there or whatever, right? You know, I tried to make friends. I tried to get in with the gang. But because I had my production company, because I had my school, because I started building businesses, and this was my mentor's idea, wasn't my idea. You know, pretty soon I got hooked on business, and then, you know, it became a habit through the subconscious, like we always talk about. But that wasn't my idea. I did not want to do business. But the second company happened automatic. And then the wedding and party business happened automatic 10 years later. 10 years later. Then in 2010, we built VMAC Consultants and Here For You Life Coaching. That's the company that I'm doing this live for right now. So I started creating these companies. So you can create your world. You are a co-creator with God. God lives in here. The kingdom is in here. You don't have to go through a gatekeeper. You know, these guys that controlled everything. You know, it was pretty awesome to watch on one hand and pretty sad on the other hand. Because on one hand, right, these same people that were producing people and making them famous, or, you know, locally famous anyway, they would have work contracts, and when they slowed down, the same people selling them things to keep going, you know, artificial substances, so to speak, worked for the same company, you know? So everything went in a circle, but the conduit was the entertainer guy, the person they selected. Everything would go through them. And pretty soon, they got worn out. And pretty soon there was rehab. And pretty soon bad things happened. But because I prayed for this all the time, because I always thank God for these things, God said, no, come over here, you know? And my mom used to tell me, like, you don't need those guys. Just do your own thing. You don't need them. And I'm like, no, but I want them. I want to be with them. She goes, no, you don't have to. Just do your own thing. Do your little thing. She always referred to my school as a little school. She goes, just do your little school. My mom talks like that. She gets like that. And so, you know, but I always tried to fit in. And I could never fit in because there was always something that pushed me away. It was God. God goes, no, you come over here. Don't go over there. You come here. You stay here. You stay in your lane. And this was my lane. And I stayed in my lane. And as a result, my lane got from here, my lane got like this, like this, like this, like this, like this. but it was my lane. I didn't owe anybody anything. I don't owe my life to a record company. I didn't have to sacrifice the majority of my salary to a record company or to a producer. You know, at one point, my uncle had this girlfriend who was an accountant, and she handled a very famous group. I'm not going to mention their name. They're very, very famous in Hawaii. And she showed me the books, and she showed me like deposits, like, you know, 50,000 here, 100,000 here, like that. And then all of a sudden, like 20,000 over there, another 20,000 debit, another 20,000 debit. She goes, you know what that is? And I'm like, no. And she goes, party stuff. And I'm like, party stuff. Okay, I get it. I get it. the white party stuff, right? But God said, no, you stay here. You stay here. Do this. You know? So I'm here to tell you that even if you think that your thing is not a big thing, even if you think that you only have this much, and this is what God gave you to work with, okay, work at it. Work at it. Because this much goes like this, and then it goes like this, and then it goes like this. Because chances are it's your calling. Eventually, that little school that I had for 24 years, that we had a commercial space for 24 years, that little school, right around 2007, was producing miracles. And I didn't know how it was happening. The how is God's job, right? And I used to sit in the corner in this chair, and I thought the chair had something to do with it, so I never got rid of my chair. But I used to get these intuitive thoughts. And I used to tell the kids, okay, just do this, do this, do this. And they would do it, and boom, like they would get confident. Boom, they would like transform into like very confident kids. I mean, like these 7-year-old girls, little girls, used to sing with their chest puffed out like that, like they wanted to fight. And I was like, wow, what's doing this? So I went down the rabbit hole, and then I found it. I found all the science related to your voice and how your voice can heal you, and how projection with intent, with the proper thought and the proper strength, velocity, right, airspeed, can calm the mind. And when I found that, I started adjusting my teaching. I started changing my teaching. Because God was saying, no, look at that, look. And I would look, and I would see these little kids, and they would become fierce. And then my adults, same thing, they would transform. It was amazing. They would just transform. And I was like, wow, what's doing this? It was energy, frequency, vibration. The same thing Nikola Tesla told us to understand the universe by. Energy, frequency, vibration. Costa, superconscious is in the other people around us. Yes, it is. It's in all of us. It's in here. I remembered and came back, brother love. Hey, thank you. Thank you for being here. So when you do something for others, it's like extending yourself, of course, because the energy in here is the energy in there. The word namaste, okay, that's the word that they use to acknowledge divinity. The word namaste means the divinity in me salutes or recognizes the divinity in you. That's very true. That's very true. So how do we help the airflow? You speak, I need tips. So do a panting exercise. If you message me, just message me. I'll send you a panting exercise in email, and I'll send you instructions on how to do it. So we did panting exercises. We did this strength training. So my teaching changed from music teaching to physiology and psychology. People think that I teach music. I don't teach music. I teach physiology and psychology. That's all, those two things. And when I started shifting my teaching, my students began to shift. First, we would get results with them like in 2 months. Then we got results with them in 1 month. Now I get results in people in one session. Like in one session, they make physical improvement because we open them up. So anyway, but this is about generosity. This is about gratitude, kindness. This is about compassion. And this is not necessarily about how I teach today. We're not going to really get into that too much more. But I'm just going to say that when I was being generous, I donated my time to that girl. And then all of her friends wanted to do the same thing because they saw how good she was. And then word got around and everyone was bringing their children to me. And that's how I started teaching. And then I went door to door in a $400 Toyota. And then after that, I built a recording studio in my home. We started teaching there. And all along the way, I worked in radio, television. I did entertainment. I did all those things. But I had like 4 careers simultaneously. And then in 2010, I started my consulting company. We told you the story yesterday. And then we started Here For You life coaching after I did the research and found out that, oh, okay, this is physiology and psychology. And the same things that work with my voice training works with life coaching, with mindset coaching. That's what we're talking about, mindset coaching. But it works with mindset coaching under the life coaching umbrella. And how does it work? Affirmations, meditation, visualization, and vocalization. The voice school is just the vocalization pillar. That's all it is. We just develop the voice. In the life coaching, we do the other 3 as well. Because as I went down the road and I saw how this worked, and God was showing me how these things work, it's like, look, see. And I would see it in my clients. Then when I started coaching my life coaching clients, I saw their lives turn around too. And it was like God was telling me, look, be the observer. See? You see? So the good news that you can take away from this is that your voice can heal you. Okay? Use your voice. Because when you're like this, when you hold everything in, okay? When you hold yourself back, when you hide in here, because in here is a good place to hide. When you're like this, you're hiding. When you're like this, you're uptight. When you're like this, you're keeping to yourself. When you're like this, you're being very introverted, more than necessary. Okay, introverts run the world. They really do. Introverts run the world. You can be proud of being an introvert if you are one. There's nothing wrong with it. But what I'm saying is you need the switch. You need the switch that allows you to relax and open up. Because when you're open, that's when you have that two-way blessing thingy going on. Because the blessings come in both ways. Okay? Give, receive. Give, receive. That's the generosity part. You have to be generous. You have to give. When you give, you receive. If you want love, give love first. If you want money, give money first. Whatever you want, give it first. If I never gave that girl free voice lessons, until today, because of that, till today, I still give people free voice lessons. I still help people. Till today. That's part of our business model. It always was. We always gave free lessons to people. Sometimes it was to college students who couldn't afford because they were going to college. Sometimes it was to people who couldn't afford it, but they were very talented. So we gave them comp lessons. We gave them free lessons. I still do. I have several comp students right now at the voice school. In life coaching, I have a couple of comp people as well. And we do this because we know the value of giving. We know the value of generosity. My mom always tells me, she goes, you give too much. No such thing. And I tell her, I tell my mom that no such thing. I don't worship money. I worship God. There's a difference. There's a difference. Money is an energy. Nothing's wrong with money. Money's good. But don't worship money. Don't be all about money. Be about people. That's where the blessings come from. Everything comes from God to us through others. The idea is not to expect a return from who you give to, because that's not necessarily where you're going to get back from. That's not the idea. There should be no expectation. You should just give. You don't know where it's going to come back from. When I just gave and I drove from Mililani to Kalihi, it's a long way for those of you who are not in Hawaii. But it's a long way, and I drove the gas, right, for like 9 months. The gas, the time, like everything. I donated all of that. It was from my heart. But guess what? All of her friends wanted to take after that. That's where the money came back. It didn't come back from her. It didn't come back from her family. It didn't come back that way. And I wasn't expecting it at all. In fact, it caught me by surprise. And I was okay with donating that because I owned the production company at the time. So I had my own business at the time. Sometimes an idea is not ours, but an idea that exists in many people at the same time. Yes, that's divine intervention cost us. That's God working. If you want to say it that way, you can say superconscious, you can say consciousness, you can say higher self, you can say infinite intelligence. But the money came from others. And then pretty soon there were just so many people that I had to start a school. And then we started teaching on the weekends, and then my recording studio became my school. And then we moved to a commercial space, and we were at 2 different commercial spaces for 24 years. But you have to give. You have to give. So if I never gave to that girl, if I never volunteered my time to drive all that way once a week for that girl, the school would have never happened. I did not plan to teach. Teaching runs in my family, but I did not plan to be a teacher at all. And now with my life coaching, I'm teaching full-time, online. But I didn't plan to be a teacher, so the voice school happened. In 1999, I did not plan to have a wedding and party business. But it was God's way of protecting me from everything else that the entertainers had to go through. The ones that signed with the record company, the ones that were made famous. God said, no, you go over here. And so I stayed there. And all of these companies are on Facebook. All of the work is on Facebook. There's a Facebook for the Kekuewa Jr. Roadshow, the wedding and party business. There's a Facebook page for Voicemaster Vocal Development, which used to be Voicemaster Singing School. And there's a page for VMAC Consultants. There's a page for everything I do. So there's a record of everything I've done. All of our clients are there, and you can see it. So if I didn't volunteer for that 1 week on the radio, if I didn't bring my guitar and sing on the radio, and on that 3rd day, God said, sing with everything you got. And that's exactly what I did. I didn't ask for anything for that. And then everybody started calling up, can you sing for my party? Can you sing? And then boom, we had to make a business out of it. There were just too many people requesting. And for a long time, I had to set up the sound and break down myself. Set it up, break it down. Pretty soon, somebody volunteered to help. Then we hired more people. And throughout the whole thing, I was surrounded by my students, which is really cool. All of my students, they all worked on the show together. So we took people from the voice school, we put them on the show. When we were in the neighborhood, our goal was Waikiki. And I told my people, I said, look, if I go to Waikiki, you guys go to Waikiki. And that's exactly what I did. And when we went to Waikiki, I brought everybody from the neighborhood, put them in Waikiki, and we had fun. And if you look at the Waikiki show pictures, I'm wearing jeans on stage. Nobody ever did that. Because we were there to have fun. We were there to be us. The jeans, the blue jeans, the denims, were my way of reminding myself where I came from. And humility. So I wore jeans. And I remember one of these former Miss Hawaii's saying, he's wearing jeans on stage. Like, who does that? And I'm like, well, I paid for the place. I'll wear jeans if I want to. And that's another thing. Because of the people at the radio station, all of the sponsor people, the people who moved on into positions with the liquor companies, they didn't sponsor us. They didn't want to sponsor us. So we had no sponsors. So I said, okay, I'll do it. And then I borrowed one show from my attorney and one show from my manager. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, you can DM me if you have questions. My Facebook address is Junior Kekuewa Jr. 1. Yeah, can you, Jay, can you put up my name, the Facebook, at Junior Kekuewa Jr. .1, and you can go to my Facebook page. So all these people that moved on to the liquor companies were all friends with this guy, and he had worked them all against me and stuff. I didn't care, and I got frustrated, and I go, okay, I'll just do it myself. So I went to the bank, took out everything I had, went down to the hotel, signed the contract, borrowed the 2 shows, paid them back after the fact. Went down to the hotel, put down almost $12,000, and did my own thing. You have to have faith in what you're doing. You have to have faith in yourself. If you don't have faith in yourself, nothing will happen. God only works when you initiate the action from here. God lives in here. The kingdom is within. So if I never gave, I would not have received. If I never helped that girl with her singing, her friends wouldn't have come. And I would never have been a teacher. I've never been a voice teacher, that's for sure. The life coaching happened as a result of my research that I did as to why this was happening in my school. Why were these people so confident? I couldn't understand it. It was because of the things that we were telling them. It was because of the exercises and the way we were having them do it with strength, pushing out tone with strength as loud as they could. Because you have to get muscles conditioned. If the muscles are not conditioned, you can't channel enough energy through the muscles. That's what it's about. It's physiology. It's not music. I don't teach music. I teach physiology and psychology. That's all I do. That's it. But we have to call it singing, right? We call it a singing school, otherwise nobody would come. We call it vocal development now because that's really what it is. You know, but we have pictures of people singing on it because otherwise nobody knows what vocal development is. And we were at our location for 24 years. In 2015, we changed the name. But as a result of the research at the voice school, you know, it was like experimentation because, you know, as I was seeing these things, I would like, okay, try more of that, try more of this, try more of that. And we fine-tuned it. And now we get results in one session. And as a result of that, we said, hey, you know what? If it works for them, it's going to work for life coaching. We just need to add the other 3 pillars. So now we have affirmations, meditation, vocalization, and visualization as a result of the research that I did in 2007. So by 2010, I was ready to teach it. And we started Here For You Life Coaching. So in 2010, we actually started 2 companies, the Life Coaching Company and VMAC Consultants. VMAC Consultants is on Facebook as well. It's VMAC Consultants. Costas, if you're, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Jay, for putting that up. Yeah, sure, follow us. It'd be nice to have you. So if you're not afraid to give, you're going to receive. But you have to give first. Everything I've done, I've given first. Because that's the way to do it. God lives in here. The kingdom is within. You can have, do, or be anything you want. Anything you want. Some things will take longer. Some things can happen right away. But it's all about mindset. It's all about how you think of the process. If you think you cannot, then you won't be able to. Henry Ford said, if you think you can or you think you can't, either way, you're correct. Henry Ford said that. But here's the thing. Generosity, kindness, compassion, love, and gratitude. Those 5 things. When you use those 5 things for something positive, doesn't matter what it is, any business. My goal was to build a family of service companies because I didn't want to do one thing. I have ADHD. My brain goes all over the place. I need a job all the time with my brain. So I applied it to multiple things at the same time. But that's me. You can do just one thing if you want. I look at life as a Baskin and Robbins. You can't just eat vanilla your whole life, for me, just for me. So I applied it to several things at the same time. You can do the same thing. And if you know someone with ADHD, tell them it's a blessing. Because it's the ADHD that allowed me to do all these things. If you take my name and you put it in a search bar somewhere, any browser, you'll see all the things that I've done, all the things that I currently do. I don't just do one thing. To me, that's crazy. I want to have different experiences. But most of all, I want to help people. I'm here for people. That's why my company is called Here For You Life Coaching. We provide mindset coaching. I mostly service professionals, but I'll help anyone. That's why we have the free 15-minute call. Because in 15 minutes, I just need to know your challenges. In 15 minutes, I can give you a plan. You don't even have to take my course, or you don't even have to be my client. My clients pay a lot of money. It's expensive to see me. But I can give you a plan based on affirmations, meditation, vocalization, and visualization. And if you follow that plan, if you're consistent and you do it every day, just like I show you, you can do the same thing. In fact, you can do more than me. Because I started this in 2007. If I started this like way back when I was young in my 20s, oh my God. But everything happens in God's time. God has a time for everyone. If it's not your time yet, don't give up. Keep going. You can do this. You got this. I just built my production company. The voice school was given to me just the way I explained it today. And when that happened, 10 years after that happened, the wedding and party business was given to me from God, just like that. I just volunteered for 1 week on the radio. Everybody started wanting me to play at their party, play at their wedding, do all of that. I had to go buy a sound system, and then we had to figure everything out. And as we went, things got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger like that. The money started small. So don't be afraid to start small. But that was given to me. God gave me that. He said, here, you want to perform? Here, wedding and party business. And I was like, no, I want to be discovered by the record company, right? I tried, right? And God said, no, don't go over there. Go here. But I walked by faith and not by sight. And every time something happened, I thank God for it. Every time we got a contract, thank God. Thank you, Father God. I say Father God. You can say whatever you want. Yeah, Costas, follow us on Facebook. That'd be pretty cool. So gratitude is very important. Gratitude, Rhonda Byrne calls gratitude the great multiplier, and it works. It really, really works. If you look at Here For You Life Coaching, if you pull it up on Google, you'll see that we have all 5-star ratings, 50-something 5-star ratings. If you pull up Voicemaster Vocal Development on trustpilot.com, we have 50-something 5-star ratings. I don't think it's because of me. I think it's because of what we do. I think it's because of the physiology and psychology that I teach. I don't teach anything involving music. I do music. I love music. I perform music. But I'm illiterate. I don't know how to read music. I don't know anything about music. My friend knew everything about music. He was a musical genius. He was a pianist, but he was blind. But he knew about music. I didn't know anything about music. The reason why our company is called Voicemaster is because I was the voice and he was the master. He was a master musician. He was a master at what he did. So it's called Voicemaster. That's why. I'm just the voice. But through the voice, you can heal. Through the voice, you get rid of anxiety, get rid of fear, you get rid of guilt, you get rid of shame, you get rid of all of that stuff. And we do it every week with people. If you want more information, just go to the website. So how do we help the airflow you speak? I need tips. Yeah, so I saw that comment. Have him or her, have him or her inbox me and I'll send them a file. I'll send them a file with the panting exercise and some scales. I talk to tons of people every week that can't afford my services because they come in on the website and then they find out how much it is and they go, whoa, sticker shock, But I give them all the materials. I give them my book. Here's my book. This is, if you want to check it out online, you guys can get a free copy today. And all you got to do is just inbox me or whatever platform. We're on 7 platforms right now. So whatever platform you're on, just inbox me and I'll send you a copy, a PDF copy of my book. This book has been selling on Amazon for years and years and years. And we're very adamant about the fact that your voice can heal you. So yeah, free book today. Just wherever you're watching this, just send us a DM, or you can send us a message, or you can send us what do you call it on that platform? Inbox, whatever. However, it's 8:00 in Hawaii right now, and that's the story of how a couple of my businesses were just handed to me from God. It just happened like that. But it happened because of generosity, kindness, compassion, love, and gratitude. And it will work like that for you too. It'll work for anything. You just have to put your mind to it, and that's why this is called mindset coaching. So there you go. Tomorrow we're going to talk about affirmations, meditation, visualization, and vocalization. Okay, and each individual process. That's tomorrow on the live.